Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. TerraPlex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from TerraPlex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with TerraPlex Ag. Visit TerraPlexAg.com.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
It's time!
What up? Little English on your Sunday. I just got to Tucson. What's the temperature in Bondurant right now, Bloom?
24.
It's actually not terrible.
It felt. I actually went on a bike ride with my kids this weekend because it felt so warm at 30 degrees.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
How warm is it in Arizona?
Down here, it's better. I mean, it was fine. This is going to sound completely elitist.
Sure.
But the first night we were there, it was like low 50s. It really didn't. You needed a coat everywhere you went. Honestly, but it was still, like you said, when we left, it was just heinous cold.
Oh, gosh, so bad.
That day on Thursday was brutal when we left, like the wind chill, and so it felt amazing to get. And now, so today, I went off the beaten path a little bit from Phoenix.
How is Tucson? I've never been to Tucson.
I mean, I haven't really seen anything from it because I spent the whole day in between Phoenix and Tucson, and I stopped at about 10 different landmarks and stopped at an Indian reservation, and I've been all over. Did a really long hike. Some really cool history down. So I don't know much about Tucson, but it looks fine. It's the I'm staying downtown. The downtown area is smaller than I thought it would be, I think. There's just not that many big buildings and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know what I was expecting either. I do know that after doing this, this was a great addition to our conference. To be able to have these trips.
Yeah. Well, my gosh, the story other than Iowa State winning yesterday was the turnout of Iowa State fans.
Absolutely.
I was like, I think it'll be 50-50. Turns out we were actually pretty close to being corrected. And you were there. So, I mean, was it close to 50-50?
I said first of all, it was really hard. You couldn't see because the teams have such similar colors. And, and it's difficult. I think when you're an Iowa State fan, it's like, what color do you wear for a road game? Because you have so many, but what you could tell was the difference when somebody hit a shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it did seem louder when Iowa State would hit a shot. Do you ever do the thing when you're going to the bathroom or getting a beer and you're kind of going off of the crowd?
Oh, yeah. The crowd. Yeah, you can sense it.
Yeah, and I don't know, it sensed whenever the crowd really reacted, it was when something positive happened. So there may have been more Arizona State fans, but the Iowa State fans were much louder, even if that was the case. So I would guess 60-40 Arizona State, but it couldn't have been much more than that.
Well, Hurley commented in the post game that it felt like a home neutral game, is what he called it. So
yeah, well, I said to my
Pretty
friends
cool.
who I was with, I go, this feels like a postseason game, where when you're just in an arena and like half the crowd is rooting for one, half the crowd is rooting for. It was awesome. It was one of my favorite Iowa State experiences, I think, because you didn't really feel good about the game. I remember looking at the clock with like 6 minutes to go, and you still think, oh, might lose it. Like, kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
And then they just go on that suffocating 19-3 run to end the game, and that was a blast. That was one of the most fun 5 minutes of basketball I could remember in a long time.
Yeah, it was actually pretty neat, because if you look at the time and situation, it was almost identical to a week ago in Morgantown. And that game was tied with 6 minutes left, and it was the total opposite of Iowa State actually closing it out. And that's why this team is so good. It's just they're good to begin with, talented, but they are tough, and they learn from previous experiences. And I just can't say enough about how I don't think Iowa State played well at all again, which, there's some issues right now with some movement at times. And
A lot of dribbling.
Keyshawn clearly for 30 minutes did not have a good game at all, but man, when the time came, he was ready to go. And Keyshawn came up clutch when it mattered, and obviously you don't win that game though without Curtis Jones. I mean, we're now halfway through the conference season, and my goodness, he's got to be the player of the year. He's got to be the player of the year in the Big 12 right now.
Totally agree. Could not agree more on that. Real quick, we're going to break that game down, and then really quick turnaround here. It's why I'm in Tucson. So Big Monday returns after playoffs and college football playoff and all that stuff. So I do believe our buddy Sean texted me. He just bumped into Frashilla. So Fashilla's on the call Monday night. It's not Billis. Just fans care about that. Just letting you know.
It's got to be Hollenberg again, because Hollenberg was in Tempe.
Well, huge game, because both these teams have one
Yes.
loss, and we'll get to the Wiffle's Big 12 segment, talk about Kansas, Houston, and all that. But we are presented by our friends at Mechdyne. That is MECHDYNE.com. Remember them if you are miserable with your employment situation. Mechdyne loves hiring Iowa Staters. Go to Mechdyne.com, check out their careers page. We're in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Thanks to our friends from Terraplex Ag. You see their pre-roll each and every Sunday and Wednesday with Williams and Blum. And, so we do feel like, we keep saying this, that we don't feel like Iowa State is really flowing offensively.
Other than the 108 against UCF, who didn't decide to play defense.
Yeah. But still, like that. I don't know, let's talk about the crowd first and foremost.
Yep.
And then we'll get into the team and really break this thing down. That was one of the most impressive things that I've seen an Iowa State crowd do. Like, you've seen it with these bowl games. You see it at Kansas City. I don't recall in my career a time where you're in an other person's arena. Maybe there were some Drake games or UNI back. I don't know. I'm trying to think where you literally just took over an opposing team's arena, especially in a conference game. And I might say that Iowa State's crowd, if they didn't win the team the game, they damn better get the assist for it.
Oh, yeah.
It was unbelievable to be there.
The only thing that comes to mind was a couple of those games when Kansas football was horrible, and Iowa State, but they were horrible. I mean,
but a crowd can't take over a football game like it can a basketball game.
No, and belying the obvious here, you're 1,400 miles away.
It was unreal.
I was shocked. I'm just going through my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh,
dude,
you're there.
Well,
you're there. Why are you there?
When I walked outside to go take a leak, I mean, it took me 20 minutes to get back because I just kept bumping into all these people I know. Oh, we're gonna go to this bar. Okay, it's Gabe's there. Oh, hey, Chris. Like it was insane how many people were there.
That's the funny part. It's not necessarily because a Kansas game or going to Kansas City is like you expect to see people, or even the Big 12 championship game, you expected to see people. But it's like everybody had the same idea, and as long as Iowa State wins, and being top 5 certainly helps. I bet the people had a blast down there, and I hope they all hang around for Monday. Speaking of, it is a whiteout for Arizona, so if you're going to the game in Tucson on Monday evening, because it's a late night, by the way, in Iowa, don't wear white.
Do not wear white.
Wear your other school color, which is black.
The other thing to point out, so I did my best. I met our guy, Joe. We called him Cyclone Jesus, who put together all the...
Good job, Joe. I heard great things.
Joe's awesome. Really good to meet him. He used to live with our buddy Ross Evelyn. Did you know that they were former roommates?
Yeah. Did not.
So anyways, small world, small Cyclone world here. So I tried to get to as many of these as I could. I like meeting fans. It's good for me to meet as many of you as possible. I love doing that. And the other thing that is just incredible is how many Iowa State fans live here.
Yes.
The Snowbirds, and then just, you would know better than me, because this is kind of your pretty decent alumni base that's down here as well. And that group did it. It was kind of like these games in Texas where that Dallas club will just have all this stuff set up.
Yep.
This is going to be one of those trips for Iowa State fans that you circle for every sport going forward.
Well, if you think about in the past, places Iowa State's traveled really well to, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that Inside.com Bowl in 2000.
Yes.
And Iowa State had 35,000 people there, and it was the first bowl game. But if people don't know, probably the most popular snowbird destination for people in Iowa is Arizona. And I would say the west coast of Florida would be second. But there's just a lot of native Iowans down there. And then the great thing with Iowa State fans is even those folks from like San Diego or Southern California, or even our guy Keith from Montana was there. Like, hey, they're close enough.
Yeah, I saw Keith. Yeah, Keith's great.
Hey, they're close enough. I might as well go. So even if you're in the general 10-hour area that people showed up, so just incredible. The Iowa State fans are what makes Iowa State different. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I mean, not many other schools would have done that. Even Hurley's like Kansas didn't bring this many fans. I mean, Iowa State's fan base is one of one, in my opinion, considering its history and the support, and that's what makes this year extra special, is because everybody can enjoy that. And Chris, like we've talked about all along, there is something pretty cool, even though it's probably close to 50-50, about going into somebody else's gym and walking out of there with a victory. It's hard to beat.
It is. It's almost more fun.
It is. I agree.
And then
I love Hilton. Don't get me wrong.
I said to my group that I was with, I go, obviously want them to win both games, but win the first one. That's the most important. It'd be better for the team.
Yeah.
I was just for the morale of all these people who were here, and then they just took over these establishments after the game. And I talked to a lot of people, and they were like, "Yeah, we just would have gone home," and no, it was just carnage out there.
What was the drink of choice? Because obviously no Ames Lager or Cody Road down in Arizona, unfortunately. But probably a bunch of Coors Light. We got a lot of Coors Light.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't venture off much anymore. You know me. It's like a Jack and Coke, or it's Busch Light. There's a lot of Busch Light down here.
Busch Light? Those are Busch Light? All right.
Yeah, they actually have it. It's not like when you go to Texas, you can't hardly find it anywhere. Okay, so we got that part. The other thing is we've got to talk about Curtis Jones. And
oh my gosh.
He had a couple plays. There was one particular where he carved into the right elbow, and it was 10 for Arizona State. Like, Kurt made the shot, and 10 was just but you could just see his body language where he's just going I don't know what I can do to defend that guy better. Kurt was on one yesterday, and if he's not, you probably lose, right? What do you start 0 for 7? I actually felt good at halftime. I didn't like that Iowa State gives up the buzzer beater at the end, whatever, but it felt like they should have been down 15
totally
by
agree.
the way that they started. Defense keeps them in the game. And another example, Blum, offense has got some issues right now, which we'll discuss, but another opportunity for this defense to go out and win a game. And they do. They know exactly what I have to do. They get the stops, and you move on. And you might add to that was a quad one win. Arizona State's win at West Virginia bumped them into that category. So that one counts just like beating Arizona would on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, in Arizona State, I was impressed. You know, the big guy played really well. The young guy, the Quitnance guy, he got when he fouled out, the game changed. I thought he was really disruptive in the paint. And then, you know, I thought Jihad was really good. They played hard. I give Hurley a lot of credit. He had those guys up and they were ready to go, and they played hard. Iowa State's better talent wise, but I thought Arizona State gave everything they had, and it's just Iowa State doesn't win that game, as you said, Cito, without its defense or Curtis Jones. I mean, we're going to have to reevaluate. Like this, he is on this trajectory that just percentage-wise hasn't been done. Like they talked about it on the broadcast a little bit. He's nearing the 50-40-90 club, which is 50% field goal shooting, 40% from three, 90% from free throw line, which is like rarefied air. That's Steph Curry stuff. Honestly, see, the way he's driving off the ball now and getting in the paint and doing the float stuff, he's darn near close to a Damian Lillard, Steph Curry type person to stop right now, because you know teams want to stop him and they can't. Like literally, Curtis is Iowa State's offense right now. He still can't be stopped, which says a lot about him and the growth in his game. And if he's playing this level, he's a Player of the Year candidate for sure in the Big 12. And you know, Iowa State again didn't get a whole lot from Keyshawn until the last 5 minutes. But when Keyshawn came to play, it was game over. And I think that's super encouraging. And even as rusty and sluggish as Iowa State looked at times in the half court, still 1.10 points per possession, which is still really, really good. So, you know, it wasn't elite, but against a solid defensive team, Iowa State still scored when it mattered and then turned them over 18 times. And there you go. That was the game. Iowa State got steals, got turnovers when it mattered most, and finally started to convert them on the other end. And I just thought it was a really tough-minded win, another grown-up win for Iowa State.
A couple other notes that I circled. Another quiet double-double for Joshua Jefferson, which is the guy just all of a sudden he's got 13 and 10.
Well, and they're running everything through it like it's Curtis and Joshua right now. It's a really neat two-person game, and obviously Taman and Keyshawn and the rest of the guys are there, but it's pretty clear when things bog down, it's either – all right, find Joshua, let him set something up out of the high post or low post, or Curtis go do something. And, you know, I keep thinking that's not a sustainable offense, but it's working right now. I think Monday will be a lot more difficult in that regard because what Arizona has that Arizona State doesn't is size at every position.
Yes,
I mean, this
they
is
got
a
2 7-footers.
This is legit. And their guards are huge guards. So it's gonna be really difficult for Iowa State to do that stuff in the paint and just kind of overpower somebody. I hate to say it, but Iowa State might need to make 10 threes to beat Arizona. I mean, you're going to have to find somebody else to make a shot, or Keyshawn's got to be really aggressive and go to the free throw line a lot because these guys are big, and they're you can't just overwhelm them like Iowa State did with Arizona State's guards.
The Lions are out. Real quick, I'll give you this.
Okay.
And this will probably be dated by the time many of you listen to the pod. Iowa State's a 1-point favorite. Opened with Iowa State as a 1.5-point underdog. They're currently a 1-point favorite. So that was your quick lineman moving on.
So how about this? I'm now looking at the individual scoring leaders in the Big 12 and conference games only. Curtis Jones is first in the conference at 22.3 points. He has 3 points clear of the next highest scoring person, and that's Keyshawn Hall and Javon Small. That is crazy. 22 points in conference games, and he's played 8. That is insane, and his percentages are still super efficient. I mean, this guy has been unreal, and he keeps getting better. He's shooting 41% from 3, actually 42% from 3 in conference play. Somehow he's gotten better since the Big 12 started, and I would never have guessed this. This was not on my mind. What's most impressive for me with him is he's starting to show some physicality. Like when he came here to Iowa State, he was kind of a slender guy, but he's put on enough weight now where he can mix it up in the paint, and he's taking contact in the paint and still finishing. It's just really, really impressive stuff. And truthfully, Cito, there's not a better guard in the country right now than Curtis Jones. Now, Cooper Flagg's great. He's more of a forward. But I think Curtis Jones is playing big time basketball right now, and keep riding that hot hand as long as you can.
Other note that I had circled is we're still trying to, I guess, what is Iowa State's rotation without Momcilovic? How are you going to do this? 40 minutes for Jones. You can't take him out yesterday.
Nope,
totally
couldn't take him
understand
out.
that.
Couldn't take him out.
But I did like going to Watson more. 22 minutes for DeMarion, who his rebound percentage since he stepped in is incredible. One of the best on the teams. That's the most he's played, and you kind of liked it when he was out there from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought DeMarion gave him good minutes, and Nate doesn't take a shot yesterday.
Yeah,
DeMarion,
and that's a problem. Like you can't be a zero. You have to show something.
You can get by, and then DeMarion only has one shot. Like
correct.
This
is the old Bill Self, I'm not going to guard the guy thing, and this is making the offense stick in other scenarios, and this is why there's so much dribbling, because there's no spacing, and one guy hitting threes is great, but the good thing is Jefferson's hit a couple in a row.
That has helped.
Right. That helps, but when Watson had that one in the left corner, I was like praying that would go in, because that helps.
At least he shot. Honestly, C-Dub, yeah. At least he shot it.
Correct.
Like I think if I'm Nate, again, the fan base may not like it, but if I'm TJ and staff, I'm like, Nate, shoot 5 times tomorrow. Don't care. Like, shoot. It's the only way you're gonna get your confidence back is you got to shoot. You can't. And his rating was really good. Like he was productive. His plus minus was really good. Did get into some foul trouble, which is why Watson played a lot. But yeah, there's just something that spot right now with Milan out has just kind of been a bit of a slog offensively. And again, Iowa State's 3-1 in that time frame, so they're more than holding their own. But it is. I think there is a noticeable sluggishness in the half court. Plus, as you get going in the Big 12 conference, scouting gets better, and coaches get better. And so you're not going to be as high-powered. And I thought actually Iowa State in the last 5 minutes was excellent offensively. But you're going to need more. You just need something from – you can't have 1-3 from Keyshawn, Nate, and Watson. Like those guys got to at least get a couple in there to keep Curtis and Taman, some of the attention off them. And if Joshua continues to make a few, then great. But I'm not counting on that.
Let's thank some sponsors. All of our content here, literally everything that you hear on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network is free for anyone. It's because of our great sponsors. So we thank them so very much. We'll start off with, you know who I sat with? Kelderman was with me.
I saw him at the airport with you.
Well, he didn't have a ticket, and one of the people in our party got sick and couldn't go to the game. And I had an open one, and Kelderman came with us. So we had a blast. I was with Kelderman all day yesterday. It was cool, too, because we went to the post-game party that Cyclone Jesus Joe organized. And Kelderman's like a celebrity because of the podcast.
As he should be.
Yeah. People are coming up to him, and they're like, bigger, better, bolder.
He's the most interesting man in Oskaloosa. One question. Did they have alcohol at the old Arizona State basketball game?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think that's why Iowa State fans kept getting louder.
I wondered that.
It was fun, man. We had in my section, I think well over half the section I was in was Iowa State fans. We were like the StubHub section, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and I'm
happy you got to go as a fan.
I don't ever do that.
You don't get to do that.
Well, and it usually makes me uncomfortable. Like, I genuinely don't like it that much anymore because I want to work. Like, this is what I do. Yeah. I don't want to be a fan. I want to work and chronicle it. But every once in a while, it's fun. And I think the road thing made it even better. I don't know why. I was just on one. I was yelling so loud. Like, I still am having a hoarse voice.
Did you get on the one white-haired official?
Oh, my God. Who was that guy? I texted you in the game, and you didn't write me back. That's the worst official I've seen in a Big 12 game in 20 years.
Eric Curry.
Have I seen him before?
Well, you have. He's one of those Pac-12 guys that we kind of inherited.
So he does suck. It's not just me thinking that.
I'm not. Again, his rate. He does all the NCAA tournament games. So he's clearly well thought of.
Okay, so he's okay.
But
Maybe I was just, I had a couple beers.
There was the one call on Keyshawn I thought was almost
the double technical pissed me off to no end. That was right in front of me.
Pretty soft.
Jeez.
They
both were guilty for what it's worth. They both were idiots in that moment. Like Keyshawn totally elbowed that guy in the chest, but that idiot was playing like a minute after the whistle. So like they were both just like,
I couldn't get everything from the ESPN Plus broadcast, but it seemed like that game was pretty chippy with the football team for Arizona State coming out and taunting the fans. And then
Hurley's so demonstrative. He was right in front of me. Like Hurley was like doing cartwheels their first basket they scored, and then you look over and TJ's like not even moving. It was, and there was also like apropos that their guy is this Duke 5-star guard. Our guy had to literally start his own AAU team to be able to make it D3. Like I don't know. And Hurley you nailed it. Like he's worse than his brother. It's unbelievable watching that guy.
They didn't show him enough on TV. I thought they would, but I was like, I could sense the meltdown. I'm surprised he didn't get a technical. I thought he wanted one.
Oh, he was begging for it.
Yeah, he wanted one there at one point. But I thought the call on Keyshawn was almost like catastrophic when he was going in. It looked like the guy kind of pulled him down, and they called Keyshawn for the off arm elbow, and the offensive foul was his fourth, and that was almost a game-changing play. But Iowa State held down the fort. Keyshawn comes back in, and ever since he came back in, he kind of took over the game for that 2-minute stretch to carry Iowa State. But yeah, I was not a huge fan of that guy throughout the game. So we'll see who we have on Monday. It should be a pretty good crew on Monday, honestly.
Well, it did matter, but that official really irked me.
Yeah, I had
and he was I thought the other guys were fine. I don't even know who they were. That guy he must have been. Is there a lead official in basketball, like a guy who everybody looks to?
There can be, yeah.
Okay, like it certainly felt like that in this game. Here I am. Iowa State won by 15. And I'm just bitching.
No, but I'm just saying that call could have cost them the game. But no, I thought it was. I thought extra good for Iowa State fans that the Arizona State football team was in attendance. That was nice. It was nice to at least.
Actually, I said this. My wife was pissed when they did that, and again, my wife is not that big of a sports fan, but she just loves the Clones. Okay, like she just cares about, and she's more like.
That's not very nice.
Well, she was going off the other day that she doesn't want Brock to get like a max contract because she doesn't want everybody to be mean to him if he doesn't meet expectations. I'm like, he's going to make $60 million a year. I don't feel bad for Brock. He's fine. But anyway, she thought it was hurtful that Arizona State would show the Big 12 championship trophy in that particular game. And I said, I kind of think it's badass. I would do the same thing.
I would have done the same thing too. Yeah.
And I also think that their fans were really cool. Like I think we had a good time with them in Dallas.
It was good. There was a couple oddballs, but there's always a couple oddballs. But I agree with that. I agree with that.
And they have the little bit of like the Walmart fan base with them because so many people go there, and you're not as. And you could really tell though how much of a football school that place is, which sounds crazy because it's not like there's some blue blood.
Yeah.
But the basketball arena made Carver Hawkeye Arena look awesome.
Yeah, it looks old. That place looks really old. Yeah, I think the Arizona State fans got it's like an upscale Walmart. What would an upscale Walmart be? Like we're taught because you if you go to Arizona State,
like
you got
Walmart.
You got some cash. I'm thinking like it's more than a Kohl's, maybe a Ross. No, probably not even that. Neiman Marcus maybe. Anywho, I thought.
I went into their Hall of Fame. It was cool. See the Pat Tillman stuff.
Tillman, who else
Randall
would be in there?
McDaniel.
Randall McDaniel.
James Harden.
Yep.
There was another football player that I didn't realize played at Arizona State that stood out to me.
So we're
cool. No,
we're good with the Arizonas. We're good with the Arizonas now.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about this on the drive today, and I feel like they're really good members of the conference. Like it really makes sense to have them.
Do we like them more than the Utah Utes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, this is interesting. I was talking to a father who's an Iowa State fan, whose kid he has a kid who goes to Utah, and we're having some beers in the hotel lobby,
as one does.
Yep, and he was explaining to me why Utah is the way that they are, and I thought it was really interesting. He goes, it really doesn't have anything to do with the Big 12. It's just that they spent 40 years trying to get into the Pac-12.
Yeah,
and then they finally did, and it blew up, and they just didn't know what to do.
You worked so hard, and then they won it too. And they were good in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I don't know. I still don't like them. It's not an excuse to me, but the Arizona State thing at least feels like it makes sense.
I think I agree, and I think tomorrow night's atmosphere is going to be great. I went to Utah. That was a great football atmosphere. BYU's been incredible. I mean, honestly, it's kind of fun to see these new things develop here, and it's turning into, from a conference standpoint, it's a fun race. And it's Iowa State and Houston are kind of leading the pack, but I had a blast watching that Kansas and Houston game.
Oh, that game was so good.
You're starting to finally see those, C-Dub. Again, Texas and Oklahoma have kind of gone into irrelevancy in basketball in the SEC, and yet this is kind of fun to see all these new teams compete, and I'm having a good time, specifically because Iowa State's still near the top.
The one Arizona State fan said to me at a bar after the game, we were just kind of chatting, older fan who's been around a lot, goes to, I think he's pretty embedded in Tempe from what it seemed like, whatever. And he said, this was fun, though. He goes, it's fun to be in a conference that cares about basketball.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they just don't have that experience there, which I thought that was good perspective to me, because he was kind of like what Hurley was saying, I can't believe all these people would come for a basketball game because they don't even get that from their home crowd.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I think that, and the question is, and I agree, I think for Arizona State specifically, I mean, Arizona's got a good basketball tradition built up over 25 years. I think Arizona State in football and men's basketball, with the resources they have, C-Dub, and you've now been down there, you see how attractive that campus is, just attractive in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And all the resources that it has, if they could get some management, they've had all sorts of trouble with athletic director issues and financial issues, but they have so many advantages. And if they can get in the conference where everybody cares, and they're not taking a backseat to anybody. I mean, it's similar to Iowa State. Always in the Pac-12, they're probably taking a backseat to the USCs, to the UCLAs, even the Stanfords from an academic standpoint. Now, Arizona State, brand-wise, is probably as big as anybody in the Big 12 right now. Would you agree?
I think I would. Dillingham's a huge personality. Yep. May have
it's
top,
cool campus.
Scadaboo's coming back, right?
Is he really? I hope
that's
not.
what somebody told me down there, and I thought
true.
that was crazy.
I don't think that's true. I will look that up. I don't believe that's true. No,
but he's gone. Okay, then that kid was lying to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
God. Well, it worked. It terrified you. But no, I think they get.
But my point was they have a brand.
They do 100%,
and it's an attractive area to come to. But and this doesn't really matter to players, but that arena, it reminded me of the last years of the Metrodome up in Minneapolis. Like that, it took you. I mean, it was a 30-minute wait to take a piss during that game.
Oh, really? Yikes. That's not good.
I mean, the concessions were great. They had like the kiosk beer ones where you could just buy your own but that arena, like the corridor was so like it really was alarming, like how old and shitty their arena was.
Well,
but they're probably not used to this many people either.
No, but it also makes you wonder. I mean, they had some major mismanagement from funding. But what are they? You can't renovate an arena. I mean, that's gonna be hard.
No.
There's just not enough dollars. So,
well, especially at the location, it's in the middle of a city. It's not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Now, the one thing with Arizona State, and this is why I believe that they have an advantage going forward relative to some of the Big 12 peers, is their academic area is doing great. I mean, their online program is massive.
Mm-hmm.
So they have definitely subsidized a major amount from the academic side to the athletic side. That's allowed them to stay afloat here. And they just have, again, enrollment, online, the whole thing. Arizona State has some financial advantages. If they could be competitive in football specifically, I think you're talking about a program that could be a a juggernaut, at least at the top, certainly in the top third of the Big 12 football-wise. And I think that basketball program is still a sleeping giant. I don't know why they've been so bad for so long. It's kind of baffling to me because, it's a nice area. You can get talent from L.A. I think Hurley's okay, but it just hasn't quite worked yet.
We'll get to the Iowa State-Arizona game coming up. Thank our friend Colin Newell for supporting the podcast as always. Brent and I both buy all of our insurance through Colin Newell. Rented a car today. I didn't got to worry about all that crap because Colin Newell took care of me. I said, Colin, I don't got to worry about the rental car thing.
I always
Nope.
love
Okay.
They tried nickel and dime. Do you want insurance? No. Have you heard of Colin Newell?
Yeah, that's what I said to the woman.
He touched Brock Purdy's rear.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The Farm Bureau Financial Services, my friend Colin Newell. Also, our friend Andrew Chaplin. He is I actually met small world, met an old Hunziker realtor, guy who's like retired now. I was like, have you heard of Andrew Chaplin? He's killing it in the Ames area. And the guy actually had because of our podcast. Isn't that great? So shout out to that gentleman and our friend Chappie with Hunziker Realty, and also our friends at the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State, the graduate program. See that guy, Joseph. See him in the pre-roll all the time. He went and got his he's doing the night classes, and he's kicking ass now. You can do that too with the graduate program at the Iowa State Ivy College of Business.
That's right. Be like Joseph. You never know where you're going to go. You don't.
Okay. Iowa State at Arizona, and then we'll get to our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Blum, what stands out to me about Arizona, the 7-footers stand out to me. Iowa State has the girth to go up against them. I'm not worried about that. But this is a bulk type game that Iowa State, as far as the bulk across the court, as you mentioned, and then Caleb Love. He's 29 years old playing college basketball, but he's still really good. Where's the matchup? Break it down for me.
Yeah, no, that's where I come back to it. These guys are big. Like, they got size across the board. They're old. They got length. And when I'm looking at, Iowa State, other than the Auburn game and the Kansas game, athletically has just been better, more physical than pretty much everybody that has played. I don't think that's the case with these guys. I mean, Love's old. He's really good. I mean, he hasn't been super efficient this year, but still very good. KJ Lewis is a really nice guard, and then they just throw big guy after big guy at you. Not uber deep. I think they're very well coached. After that baffling stretch in late November, they've really turned it around. I mean, if you look at their last 10, it's better. It's very impressive. I mean, this is the Arizona everybody was expecting, and this game for them, they haven't had that huge win yet. You beat a top 3 Iowa State team on Big Monday in front of the nation. That could be a huge springboard for them. So if I'm Tommy Lloyd and crew, I'm like, boys, this is the game for us. We do this. Then we got, we are right there with Houston and Iowa State in the Big 12 race, and it's on. Because then you're at the halfway mark, and it's a sprint to the finish. But, look at their metrics, C-Dub. They move it well, good tempo. Don't shoot it great. Don't shoot it great at all. So I think this game is, has the potential to be a game in the paint. 286th in the country, C-Dub, in 3-point attempts. So they don't shoot a lot. Now, so this game, C-Dub, comes down to 3 things. Can Iowa State turn them over? Iowa State turned Arizona State over 18 times, won them the game. Arizona is very good at taking care of the basketball, so it might be harder than Arizona State. But then rebounding and foul trouble. And with the size that Arizona has, if you get a Jefferson or a Jackson in foul trouble again, it could be tough against those guys. And you're going to have to rebound the ball. So I think this game actually shapes up a lot like Kansas does when Iowa State played Kansas. It's just you're in a tough place to play at the McHale Center and not at home. So buckle up. This one's going right down the wire, everybody.
If you go to conference only, second best offense in conference only in the Big 12. So here's the point that I've made on this show before, but I think it bears repeating. Arizona's lost one game dating back to December the 18th, okay? They have 5 losses prior to that, but they're all quad 1 losses to NCAA tournament teams. So, I mean, this was it's telling to me that all the metrics have them in the top 15 and the pollsters don't have them ranked. And that's, our critiques of the polls. We've done this on this show for 10 years now. But that's why like they don't have that national love. It's because they were 4-5 at one point.
Yeah, and they lost some marquee games.
They did, but they've won all of them pretty much since, other than losing in Lubbock, where a lot of teams are going to do that.
And yesterday, they got a monster performance from a guy that hasn't been doing great, and that's Anthony Dell'Orso. Hit 6 threes. If they get a guy like Dell'Orso making 6 threes, it's good night. I mean, that is something they just haven't had. He's a Campbell transfer. He shoots it really well when he does shoot, but kind of came out of nowhere yesterday and put up 20 on 6 threes. That's one of those guys, is it somebody like that steps up? Is it Heisey for Iowa State? Is somebody who is that mystery person that can get this game up in the upper 70s? I think you could see a high-scoring game. I'd be curious what the over-under is if you have that pulled up, because both these teams can get out and run, but also both don't shoot a lot of threes. It's an interesting matchup, and we're going to see a lot of two-pointers and actually a lot of stuff at the rim.
Wiffles Hybrid's Big 12 segment. Let's jump right in. Plant your independence. Plant Wiffles.
Wiffles.
Kansas and Houston was an all-timer.
Oh,
what an incredible game. We just really had a great day of basketball. If you watch the Iowa State game, and then ESPN had one of the great Saturday doubleheaders you'll get all year with the Kansas-Houston game, followed by another game that meant a lot to Iowa State fans, and I'm sure most of you were watching it, with Auburn and Tennessee. Now, the problem is neither of the games went the way Iowa State fans would have rooted for. Yada, yada, yada. Doesn't really matter. Big thing is Iowa State keeps winning. I will say this. I believe Houston, give me your odds right now, Blum, as you like to do this every week.
Yep.
I would think Houston is the favorite to win the Big 12 right now.
Yep,
the way that they are playing, they get Iowa State at home. That's an advantage for them. Iowa State already has the one loss. They're currently undefeated. I would think after winning that game in Allen Fieldhouse that the odds jumped quite a bit in their favor.
Have you been looking at odds for a couple years in your life? Because you're correct.
Yes, I have. I have not looked at these though. What is our change?
Speaking of, real quick, over under tomorrow night is 151.5. So we're expecting some points there in Tucson.
Okay.
Should be a fun one. Big 12 conference regular season winner. Houston now minus 210 to win the conference.
So okay.
And Iowa State is the only other school in single digits at plus 210. So Iowa State's 2 to 1.
That's a pretty big difference, though.
That's a big gap.
That changed a lot with Iowa State not losing a game.
But shockingly, C-Dub, to me, the next best odds are Arizona at 13 to 1. So it's a two-horse race the way Vegas sees it through 8 games. And if Arizona beats Iowa State tomorrow, they'll jump up. I mean, those teams will probably both move around to 5 to 1 area. But yeah, Houston that's a monster win. That was the biggest win of the year, and that's Houston going into Allen Fieldhouse where it lost a year ago, and winning in a game that Kansas really just gave away. I mean, Bill Self has to be beside him. So that was horrible execution in the last 2 minutes of both regulation and overtime.
Yeah, and it's also I thought the game was over. I was already constructing a tweet about Houston getting its first Big 12 loss, what it meant for – I was literally doing that, and then all of a sudden I looked up and I was like, oh, my God. And also, Houston's so damn tough. Like,
they are tough. They're super tough. I think,
I said this last year. When you watch them in person, the combination of size, athleticism, and effort that they give on the defensive end is really worth the price of admission. And Iowa State's good on defense. It's just a different level. Do you agree with me, or am I not giving our guys enough credit?
I think Iowa State's really good, but Houston's 2, Iowa State's 7 in Ken Pom. What makes Houston so good, C-Dub, and again, I think they're good. Like I don't know if they're as talented offensively as they were a year ago. I mean, they're still really good. L.J. Cryer's a nice player, and when Juwan Roberts is making every left-handed runner he could, like at some point make him go right. But they Kelvin Sampson gets really good players to play really hard, and it's like that whole Bill Self thing from last week, where he's like, we gave effort, but we didn't compete. Houston always competes. The one game they really didn't compete was when Iowa State blew them out in the Big 12 championship game, which looks more
Kelvin,
crazy
lost
by
his
the
mind
day.
at that game in Ames too. Remember that?
Yeah,
one?
that too. But that's
that weird press conference.
I think they're really good. And then they had a couple big shot makers late in that game. The Uzan kid, kind of unheralded when they got him. He came over from Oklahoma, was a nice player at Oklahoma. And Fran mentioned in the broadcast that he wanted to go to Houston to get tougher, to play harder. Like one of those guys, kind of similar to an Iowa State decision. And he's been really impressive and got them over the hump yesterday. He continues to play well and starts making shots. That's a really tough team in Houston to guard because their bigs, Tugler and Roberts, are very active and just they're hard nosed. They're tough.
Yeah, Iowa State really needed them to drop that one.
Yeah,
because you just look at the rest of the way, they get Tech at home. Yeah. Maybe they've got to go to West Virginia, so give them a chance to lose there, right?
Yeah, that's on Wednesday. That's on Wednesday. That'll be interesting. Yep.
They do go to Arizona, so that's a. And I guess they do have to go to Tech. That's one of their games who they play twice. They get Kansas at home, and then they've got to go to Baylor. I don't think Baylor's beating them, and I don't think Kansas will beat them there. So really, they've got Iowa State at home, at Tech, at West Virginia, and at Arizona. And you're just looking. There's not a lot of opportunities for them to realistically drop games.
It's going to take. So they haven't lost yet. I mean, they're going 17-3 at worst. They really are. I mean, I
would agree.
So it's going to be hard for anybody to catch them. I mean, you're talking about Iowa State's got to win there, and then obviously you can't lose any more than one more game. That's just it. It really puts you up against it. But the odds are reflective of that, just like we talked about. They have an advantage. They got their hardest game out of the way by winning at Kansas. That gives them, and then they get Iowa State at home. It's just a big advantage, and that's kind of the nature of unbalanced schedules. They don't have to go to Hilton this year, but hey, they earned it.
But it's also
really
why
good.
I don't really care. Some fans just think that it's offensive that I say this, but sure, I would love to get a regular season title in the Big 12. I really just want Iowa State to be a number one seed.
Yeah, I think that if you're looking at likelihood, the one seed is still very much, I'd say, above 50% right now. And I'd say winning the conference is less than 30%. Like your odds of getting a one seed are higher than winning the Big 12 right now. But
you're probably going to lose one of the next two Mondays. Right? Isn't that just get a split?
Sure. Yep. And then you basically have to win at Houston then if you want to win the thing. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I agree, C-Dub. I would love to win one. Iowa State hasn't won a regular season Big 12 championship since 2001. So it'd be really fun from that standpoint. But Iowa State's also never had a one seed. Like if I'm picking right now, well, give me them both. But I'd be happy. I'd be happy with a one seed.
I don't know. The problem is that you could win the league and you're not. It's hard to do it outright because these schedules and there's tiebreakers, right?
Sure.
I don't know.
You can still hang the banner, but it's not the same as it would if you're playing everybody twice. That's for sure. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, Chris. You look nationally now. It's pretty much the top four have really separated themselves, specifically with Tennessee losing to Auburn yesterday. I mean, Florida's hanging around there, but I mean, it's Duke, Auburn, Houston, Iowa State. I mean, I think those four are really a cut above everybody else. You saw, a disappointing loss this week from Illinois. Alabama had a head scratcher. Purdue's been really weird this year. So why do I say that? I mean, the one seed, again, I think you're better than 50% for a one seed right now, but I don't see a world at this point with the work Iowa State's done where Iowa State drops below a two seed. And that's even if you were to lose 2 Mondays in a row, which is entirely possible.
It's very possible you could.
Iowa State is still in excellent shape. And, a 2 seed means you're probably playing in Milwaukee or Wichita at the worst. And you hope you get to the Sweet 16 and then roll out there from there.
Wichita's a site?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yep. It is. But, yeah, I mean, this is the great thing. What makes this time of the year really enjoyable, you can watch everything. Like yesterday's a perfect example. You win the game at 1, and then you can watch all these games and still feel good about whatever the result is because Iowa State is in probably as good a position as it has been since I've been following them to not only get a high seed, but I think make a deep run, because I'm looking even at those top 4 teams, and there's just not a lot of difference between Auburn, Iowa State, Duke, and Houston. I mean, they're all really good. And outside of that 2000 team, I think this Iowa State team is as elite as it's ever been in effort to get to a Final Four. And on that note, let's play guess the Final Four odds, everybody. You ready?
Plus 550.
I just had it.
No, it's less than that. 500.
Yeah, it's gonna be less than that. Odds to make the Final Four: Duke is 100, Auburn is 110, Houston is 190, and
so Iowa State's got to be like 250.
Iowa State 240. 240.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, 500 is way too much.
Alabama's right behind him. So there you go. So we're still right there. And again, the next 2 Mondays, obviously winning would make you feel elated. It's not gonna budge you too much either way.
Thanks to our friends from the Iowa State University Foundation, MoveWhatMatters.com. You get to see all their great pre-rolls. If you're watching on YouTube, or I'm giving you a tour talking about how great the Iowa State fans are. Makes a lot of sense. Also, go up and pick up a 6-pack of Ames Lager and support the We Will Collective, right, Blum? Hey, the portal, it's going to be opening again.
It is, and basketball portal opens March 24th.
See? There you go. It's portal
Let's go.
season.
Let's load them up, guys. Come on, we can load them up now. I don't want to get nervous in March. There's going to be a little bit too much going on.
I'll be doing our pregame show from Tucson. So this is a late tip even out here. So it tips at 8:30 in Tucson.
9:30 Iowa time, everybody. Get your coffee.
So ESPN doing now? Like I haven't even looked at this as far as the schedule. Like what they're gonna have.
Honestly, it's the dumb golf event. It's pushing everything back.
Really?
Yes. The TGL. The TGL is
I didn't
pushing it
realize
back.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was to say, like, why is it starting so late? I don't understand. But that makes sense now.
Yeah, so we got bumped for indoor golf. But it's Tiger Woods versus Rory tomorrow, everybody.
So but because I'm looking at NC State Duke at 7:30, so the golf is before that?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it's that, and then that game, and so they pushed everything back 2 hours essentially. Silly.
Okay. All right. Well, fun show. This is a blast to be able to do this with you. I did have one guy come up to me at the post game party yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, Chris, I don't want to be rude, but when are you guys recording?" And I was like, "Tomorrow." Why? He goes, "Damn it." He wanted to be able to have it to listen to on his drive.
Down.
Sorry. Hope you guys enjoy it on your Monday, though.
Hey, how about this stat? Iowa State's gonna be ranked in the top 5 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the 20th straight week Iowa State's been ranked in the top 10. 20th straight week. Longest in the country and far and away a school record.
Pretty cool, man.
Keep it up, fellas. Keep it up.
Pretty awesome. He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Mechdyne. That's Mechdyne for those hard of spelling. We're in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. We'll be back for Williams and Bloom Wednesday. And again, so
when
8:30.
when you coming? Are you flying? You got a direct? You got a direct? You doing a hop,
There's
and skip, and a jump?
There's no direct from Tucson.
You could drive up to Phoenix.
No, I didn't want to mess with that. So I'm flying on. I'm going American to Dallas and then up.
Yeah. All right. We'll see
Because
when
I
you
could
get
have
here.
flown to Phoenix and up, but I was like, I'd rather get to Dallas.
Hey, real quick note for Saturday's game against Tang. So Tang's coming up on Saturday, everybody.
Yeah, big game.
It's a whiteout. So just start planning now, because the football game, everybody did really well, but we always had a couple latecomers. So you can, obviously Fanatic's got some white stuff.
There's
make sure you
nothing
wear
I
white.
love more than seeing Cyclones versus the World shirts. Like, I wish that was just like the thing.
The theme.
It's just perfect.
Yes.
I saw
So-
a couple of them in Tempe, and it was just like I had so much freaking pride.
Man, hey, good job, everybody. Like that, you guys represented really well.
Oh,
down
it was
there,
great.
So kudos to
Awesome.
you guys.
Thanks, Bloomy. Appreciate
Cheers.
you. He's Brent Blum. I'm Chris Williams. We're back on Wednesday.